In today's community and society, millennials, particularly African Americans, blacks, Negroes, whichever term one so chooses, serves as one of the most powerful groups of individuals in our modern times. Now you may ask, who are these millennials? What does the voice of a millennial sound like? Who represents the voice of these millennials? How much influence does these voices truly have? And the answers to these questions can be complex, and yet they're very simple. And simply put, the voice of these millennials is a loud roar of over 80 million strong that influences our society and our communities financially, whereas over $1.3 trillion of consumer spending trends nationally. Politically and in political platforms, locally, statewide, and nationally, there are evolving movements of Black Lives Matter, which are truthfully movements that extend from a civil rights platform which originated to resist dehumanization of Black life and people in this country, as well as educationally, whereas right now peaceful protests are being observed not only at HBCUs, but in all colleges, where graduates walk out of their own graduation due to a lack of toleration and intoleration for respect or disrespect for our current national representation of government. Now, as impactful as that is, the millennial voice is so much more than that. The millennial voice comes in multiple tones, languages, and sounds. What rings true about the millennial voice, regardless of how loud or soft or what language is being used, is that it will not be ignored. The millennial voice wants to be heard, and it needs to be heard, and it will leverage any and all platforms necessary to be heard. However, in and around all these factors, the most profound impact in all of this is the awareness of self, which is the single most important thing that we can have for ourselves. And as a community, we also exist as a collective self in our state. In today's discussions, there will be an array of topics that will address many areas that will affect the lives of the people here in our community. But perhaps the lives that will be most impacted are those of our youth and our millennials. They are our voice. And while those voices become one voice, that minority is really a greater majority. In doing so, there is a responsibility in respectability politics then to teach accountability for action and a call to empower and encourage overcoming of fear and to stand for and embrace change. Change comes inevitably. However we embrace it and what we do with that change sets the tone for how power is embedded in the bark and the bite that governs that voice. In increasing our community self-awareness overall and addressing the respectability political issues, there are several key points in our locality that we can take on to create change right here in Augusta, Georgia. These include, but are certainly not limited to, one, addressing our race-to-race relation issues in our community to strengthen us individually and collectively. Eliminating then stereotyping of women and minorities in the workplace and throughout our community. And creating positive means to empower and encourage our youth to use their voice to represent our community with an ongoing ongoing movement with regard to respect for self, the community, and the ancestors whose shoulders upon which we stand, showing that indeed all life matters. And yes, Black Lives Matter. It encompasses everyone. In our great Augusta, Georgia, there still exists that element of spoken, unspoken, strained race relations. Now, racism itself is ordinarily defined by Webster as prejudice, discrimination, antagonism directed against someone by a different race or another with the assumption that his or her own race or condition is superior to that with whom or with which it is being compared. However, this is designed to heighten your awareness and understanding that racism extends beyond that to a broader scope. It is more socially constructed. It is a process contingent on a collective acceptance, agreement, and imposition. Racism is ingrained not only in the minds of people, but also in the structure of society itself. Our legal system, our prison system, our education system, our housing system, and various other aspects of our society and our community overall are racialized. Most importantly, we as a community perpetuate those constructs when we interact with and among each other, and even within our intimate groups as we relate and intermingle with each other. Take, for example, Roediger's assessment of the housing market with the Federal Housing Act of 1930. Roediger showed how even capitalism, which is a major construct of the American democracy system. He showed that the value of neighborhoods decreased and increased according to how it was racially organized. The more Black people live in neighborhoods, the more the values of the homes in the neighborhood decrease. Yet, it's still the exact same today, and with the residential implantation of our white counterparts, that regardless of socioeconomic status, that it increases, abandoning the notion that race is the solution to racism and white privilege. No matter how much we may attempt to make our legal language and documents legally neutral, race in its biological construction will always remain in the minds of people. At the very least, we have to come to terms with race, not abandon it, but simply be aware of it, understand it, and not be afraid to take a stand to make a change for the better. To take it a step further, racism is often perpetuated even more intensely when it purposefully and intentionally harms another of its own kind. For example, when one attempts to intentionally inflict harm upon another of their own group because he or she finds it amusing to openly and publicly humiliate the constructs of an institution whose purpose is to educate and empower members of the same. Instead, this person is confined to the conditioning of their limited assessment and belief that this group is subject to fail. Things need not have happened to be true. Tales and adventures are the shadow truths that will endure when mere facts are dust and ashes and have been forgotten. For out of those ashes, a phoenix shall arise. Therefore, we must acknowledge the problem when it occurs and then find viable ways to eliminate it and make it right. We must not sweep it under the rug for later and sit idly by as if nothing happened, or dismiss an occurrence because we don't want to open a can of worms. Open the can, I say. We need to let the worms crawl out. We need to be clean and refreshed so that better seeds can be planted and reap the rewards of the flowers that will grow. It starts with us in our community, in our homes, and with our youth. As we deal effectively with our race relation issues, we can also evolve into a community that works effectively to eliminate stereotypical behavior towards women and minorities within our community. Stereotypes evolve out of fear of persons from minority groups. Stereotypes and biases serve to unfairly and sometimes unintentionally keep qualified, capable people out of jobs or positions of power. For instance, the assumption that men are bosses while women are just bossy, or not up to the challenge, or busy taking care of the kids and wouldn't want the additional responsibility anyway. Where did you get that from? Who told you that? We manage what you do every day, all day long, and we don't get paid to do it. It is our job. People develop stereotypes when they are unable or unwilling to obtain all of the information necessary to make fair judgment about people or situations. In the absence of the total picture, stereotypes in many cases allow us to simply fill in the blanks. Our society often innocently creates and perpetuates stereotypes. But then these stereotypes often lead us to unfair discrimination and persecution when the stereotype is unfavorable. In this community, we have a strong network and net worth of individuals who individually and collectively belong to Augusta, both black and white, men and women. Let me say that one more time. Just one more time. In this community, we have a strong network and net worth of individuals who individually and collectively belong to Augusta, both black and white, men and women, men and women, men and women. We must continue to work collectively in our cities so that as we continue to grow and reclaim our beautiful city, we show our children and our youth that we are a city of people. We no longer live in a community whose strength lies solely in single gender domination. Rather, our strength lies in our people domination. That the richness of Augusta is in the strength of its community and the people who reside in the community and the programs that build strong race relations and promote powerful gender equality with strong programs that promote a greater community for everyone. Finally, as we endorse greatness in our community, we must sustain ourselves by establishing resources that will help our younger community members and our youth to develop the same pride that we have and nurture it as it grows and as they grow, and preserve this great Augusta in the years to come, just as our ancestors and parents have for us. In order to do that, a strong foundation must be reestablished. Resources are needed to eradicate the stigma and divide that has been transformed from that negativity of bad race relations, to empower and encourage change, to increase awareness and understanding of each other as individuals and unique groups, transformed and capable in our own rights, thereby creating equality and just environments on every level of interaction, and to educate and foster a sense of self-pride and cultivate the spirit of respect and dignity among all people in our community. Together, everyone accomplishes more. Together we can. We are Augusta. Thank you.